Celebrate Independence Day with that dream vehicle of your choice, along with free fireworks going on now at Dream Motors. Celebrate Independence Day with that dream, along with free fireworks going on now at Dream Motors. Celebrate Independence Day with that dream vehicle of your choice, along with free fireworks going on now at Dream Motors. Celebrate Independence Day with that dream vehicle of your choice, along with now at Dream Motors. With free fireworks going on now at Dream Motors.
He was still in the fortress. I wish all I had was.
I'll bet you did. I'll give you a job.
Hey, I need.
What's it, something they're doing downtown? This is
24th of July.
Right.
But I want to do it on first part of the Cowboys.
Right.
Armenians.
Okay.
You know, we had to go.
I'll talk to him.
See you. Yeah, I appreciate it.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Have him give me a call.
No. Diane.
Okay. I'm just trying to catch up to you.
Oh, yeah.
She's gotta be a politician. It's programmed to be.
And she's back in the wildland. No, actually, she's going.
How's the water up there?
Well, she comes. Exactly. She's still girl.
Maybe get some showers here.
I just remember seeing on the streets and
Yeah.
she'd wave and everything and
Yeah.
stuff. So, oh, the guy, not good to pass him by.
All right, I'll do that. I will do it. I will do it. All right, hey, y'all have a good evening. Be good.
He lives in a room that's pretty dang quiet. I'll be belated birthday.
Wait till 17.
Yeah, Russ wasn't sure he was gonna make it.
No.
so.
Yeah, wait till 17.
Do you want the sign-up sheet?
Yeah, I guess.
He's not bad. You can.
He said that he thought he was right here.
Probably. Been over there.
Having Hamilton turned on. My mom, oh, handwriting. And,
Celebrate Independence Day with that dream vehicle of your choice, along with free fireworks going on now at Dream Motors.
Bill.
So I had all my speakers turned up. This didn't look good. Did he
We lost Raymond.
come in tonight?
What was that?
Take your hat off and read, don't you? What you don't do.
Oh, I didn't. I'm good at whatever.
I just forget.
Doesn't make any difference to me.
What is he? What is he? He's coming
Yeah.
Well, then I don't really have a face. I did remember George.
How you enjoying the heat? Yeah.
I'm going to try to decide.
Hot?
Good time to get out and do your work in the morning.
Well, best time to do some morning.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, morning working. Bill, long time no see.
Christine, are we recording? All right, we're going to go ahead and call our zoning commission meeting for June 29th to order. Doug, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item would be to review and approve the minutes from May 25th.
Move to approve. I'm second it.
It's been moved by Raymond, seconded by Jackie. Discussion?
Call for the question.
Question's been called for. All those in favor of approving the minutes from May 25th, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimous. Next up would be the Director of Operations report, Todd Hazelbaker.
I don't really have anything to report on, other than just busy with smaller projects, fences, and greenhouses seem to be popular.
Sounds good. Are there any questions for Todd at this time?
How do you come on our list of approved benches and such as the things for the year?
I get Next meeting on the
Probably for the 6 months, I guess.
Okay, yeah, next meeting on, announce it.
Anything else for Todd? All right, we'll go ahead and move forward to the zoning compliance certificates, starting with 2021018.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Raymond, seconded by Jackie. Discussion?
Well, we discussed this for about 6 months now. So, we have a plan here that shows 10 feet from the side, 10 feet from the back, 10 feet from the other side, and more than 25 feet from the front. We have proper parking. I guess the big issue is where the front of the lot is, and to me, that's not really an issue, it's obvious the front of the lot is Washington Street. The front door is facing Washington Street, so the only issues that we have here is Todd decided he was gonna give it a street
Poindexter.
Poindexter address because of safety concerns, but I don't think that should matter to us as far as improving the house. You know, we're calling this a garage with a house on top of it. To me, this is going to be the primary building. I can't see no reason why we don't approve it. And as primary building, I hope he keeps in mind if he builds another building, it'll be a secondary building, it'll have to be smaller than this one. But really, I think personally, I would put that in as a house, as a one-bedroom house compared with the house that's sitting on the garage. It's a one-bedroom house with an attached garage, is what we should be looking at. And I personally think, I can't see no reason not to approve it. I think it meets all the setbacks. You know?
Well, I think this is a perfect example of needing all of the information to begin with, because we didn't.
Oh, I agree, right.
This one here hasn't been kicked around for no reason. A lot of it was just lack of information. So if the setbacks and parking and everything's there to begin with, it really is a lot different process on this.
Oh, I
one.
agree, right, right.
So. Any other discussion?
Second it.
Well, we haven't called for the question yet, but I guess we'll open certificate number 2021018 up for public comment at this time.
Yeah. Ed Mooney, just one thing that occurred to me that hasn't come up, and it's a question for you guys. Are principal dwelling units allowed above garages? I believe that accessory dwelling units are limited to being above garages, and which would make this an accessory structure to the other building owned by the property owner. The other thing is that there is no access off of Washington Street, so that may weigh into where the entrance is. I'm not sure that matters either, but those are just a couple of things. It looks to me like an accessory dwelling unit, not a principal building. So, for what it's worth.
Thank you for your comment. Any other public comment at this time?
Is this the only building on the property? This looks like a primary residence to me. Thank you, Eric Lundman, 140 South Bozeman Street.
Any other public comment at this time? All right, we'll go ahead and close public comment on certificate number 2021018 and bring it back for discussion.
I'll call for the question.
Question's been called for. All those in favor of approving certificate number 2021018, say aye. Opposed, nay. All right, it passes unanimous. Next up would be certificate number 2021019.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved by Raymond, seconded by Jackie.
I don't know.
Within the,
This was brought forward to us a while back, and it does not have enough space. It's bigger than the required 35%. There's more than 35% of the lot. I see you put a copy of the plat in here.
yes, it
So
just,
that's my eyes deceived me, that's not a signed deal.
it is not, it has, it just came back from Mr. Ritchie. He has signed off on it, and there's a few signatures on it, but it's not been completed. So I just put it in the packet for your review.
Table this until, I don't know.
One of the things that Levi and Candace have said is that they would remove the garage portion of the project if needed, and if they were to do that, then they would eliminate, then it would bring it below the 35%.
And then they wouldn't need this boundary adjustment, or?
No, they would still need the boundary adjustment.
Tom, is this the property that we supposedly thought was 75 feet long and it was only
Yes.
69? This is the
Yes,
one.
it is.
Well, and then if they do a boundary adjustment, is that going to affect the property next door? The 35%, because it seemed like you guys were pretty close to that when you built that with the boundary adjustment. So, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, no, I understand.
And I don't know, I guess I would like for that to be looked into before they approve a boundary adjustment, if those things are going, if they do a boundary adjustment and they don't have enough space in the building they built. I don't know, that'll be up to the mayor to look at, I guess, or I'm sure.
Yeah, the mayor can look at that.
Yeah. Well, I would move to table this until more information comes in on the boundary adjustment.
A second.
What information are we specifically waiting on?
Well, are we gonna get the boundary adjustment?
Okay.
Because if they don't get the boundary adjustment, they don't have enough room.
Yeah,
That 10 feet's gonna make.
How far out are we talking there? Are they in the process there?
They got.
yeah, that's, the Mylar's back. They just need a few more signatures on it. The mayor's not signed it yet, but before the mayor signs it, then we'll look at it to see how it affects the zoning on the other property.
They've already built
Because I know on the other
Oh,
You need setback.
duplex that's already there, they added on the back a kind of patio area. But that's one of those, if it's less than, if it's 5 feet or less, it's exempt from setback regulations.
Right, but if they take 10 feet off of their setback that they have already, to do a boundary adjustment, that's going to affect the setback.
Yeah, so that's what I'm, yeah.
Plus the square footage, that's, 10 by 150 is a lot of square footage.
So yeah, those are some of the issues that we need to address, so.
okay. So, real quick here, is there any public comment on certificate number 2021019?
truck. Eric Wendland, 140 South Bozeman Street. I believe I'm familiar with this property that sits right next to the duplex that already exists. Right? This looks like a good infill project to me. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any other public comment at this time? All right, we'll go ahead and close the public comment on certificate number 2021019. Bring it back for discussion. Sounds like we're needing more information on as far as the law, with the adjustments going to be made before we can even dive into this one. Huh? So, you have a motion to table it? You seconded it? Question been called for. All those in favor of tabling certificate number 2021019 until we learn if the lot line adjustment will happen, and if so, what the particulars will be with that. So, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Next up would be certificate number 2021024.
Move to approve.
It's been moved by Raymond, seconded by Jackie. Discussion?
Setbacks and everything look okay. The only thing I see of issue is the garage is actually bigger than the house and garage put together. And then, if you're looking at this drawing here, and it shows the front lawn, so it shows the accessory building actually being in the front lawn, which is another issue. It looks like a nice house and a nice garage, but I would be viewing our zoning regulations and I haven't seen anything that allows them to be in the M zone to build an accessory building in the house.
So are you referring to the shop or the attached garage?
I'm returning to the shop. But you give the definition that is an accessory building. Exact same thing.
Okay. Eric, did you want to comment on that at all? Putting this forward so it doesn't need to be public. If you'd like to stand up and share your thoughts relating to your application, yeah.
Yeah, that's just a primary residence and a shop on an 18-acre tract that happens to be in town. I might remind you that Montana state law does not allow nuisance ordinance for agricultural property. And by definition, anything over an acre in the city of Dillon is considered agricultural. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Raymond's the agricultural man in the city.
Correct. But this is actually already zoned. It was zoned long before we declared agriculture, long after we declared agriculture, or however you want to look at it.
Snap change.
This is actually already zoned down one.
It's zoned C2.
What's that?
It's zoned as C2.
Oh, this isn't zoned down one?
Yeah, C2.
Oh. Okay, well.
I do recall the zoning hearings, and I don't think the use has changed, and that was one of the big discussions when we went through the zoning and accepted the zoning to C2 as well.
Any other discussion here before we go to public comment? All right, we'll go ahead and open certificate number 2021024 for public comment this time.
Ed Mooney, it is zoned to C2, so it's not agriculture for zoning purposes. And the state definition of agriculture, which is also built into our definitions in Title 17, requires income from agricultural activities. And those agricultural activities are very specifically defined with a list of things that qualify as agricultural activities. A shop and a house, generally speaking, is not agricultural activities unless there's something being produced for sale of an agricultural nature. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
With all due respect to Mr. Moon, that would be a primary residence, and we have cows and horses and goats, and we'd like to go take a look. I'm sure my children would love to show.
Unless they're for sale, it's not an agricultural activity.
We're currently taxed as non-qualified agriculture.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't
Greater
matter.
than 24 acres.
The tax classification doesn't apply.
Any other public comment at this time?
I have a question. So if we remove the house from the application, would that qualify then? Before we make a motion.
Any other public comment at this time?
I'd like to make one more comment. It's also a fact that horses and goats aren't allowed in the C2 district. So,
Every time my kids, they show me a fair amount of buck.
Any other public comment? Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment on certificate number 2021024. And bring it back here for discussion. I guess, you know, to respond.
What is the purpose of your building this house and shop?
We're gonna live there.
And the shop is for what purpose?
I don't really work.
Are you going to use it to build cabinets?
I can park, I can park things in it, I can use it whenever I like, I suppose.
He's trying to make the wife happy there, Raymond,
No.
and himself at the same
I'm
time.
trying to find a way to classify this as agriculture so I can argue for it. You know, I'm making it very easy. It could be, if you're going to move into that house yourself, living it for your farm activities, you're going to use that garage not for your commercial activity, but for farm activity, as in park your tractors in there, cab in there, your agriculture things in there, then this would definitely be an agriculture venture. But if you're building the house to live in, which is okay, if you're building the shop though, to park your construction equipment in there, use it to work in it for the summertime for your, then that's not agriculture related. You see the difference? And I'm not too sure the fact that, I don't know. I think the time to complain about being changed from active to C2 from agriculture. Personally, I would argue for agriculture and I wouldn't let it zone C2.
Yeah. And I recall this discussion very clear, and it was very clearly agreed upon that as long as until we change the use of that property,
Right.
that we can have it just the way that it is.
And that's correct.
Right. Right.
So I guess to respond to one of the questions that Eric brought up was if you remove the house and this was a shop by itself sitting, you know, on this application, what would the problem be there?
I wouldn't have a problem. Like I said, I'm trying to find not having a problem with the house too. I really am trying to help you. Keep me off a little bit. Because that's one thing I'm very close to is agricultural property in the city limits, which is not. But if I may, Mr. Chairman, we don't close the public comments yet?
Well, I think I closed it, didn't I? Yeah. Yeah, and at this point, you know, I think we've got a good base here. I mean, it is a unique situation. There's a lot of ground there. However, we do have the accessory building piece of it. Like you're saying, if it was a,
See, I'm not too sure, and that's what I really need a little time to look into this and research it, because I'm not too sure that you still don't have to follow the zoning ordinance. We can't stop you from building your thing and call it agriculture. We cannot stop agriculture activity on your ground. But there is still the general standards and prescriptives. The rules that says, and I can't see anything in here where it says you don't have to abide by them either. In one of in chapter 12, accessory buildings. The accessory buildings shall be buildings, garages, and swimming pools or that are constructed between the front lot line and the required building lot line, which is obviously in the front yard, and we say front lawn right next to the building. It says it cannot be any bigger than principal building, which the obvious is.
Is that just if it's in the front yard then?
What's that?
So is that just if it's in the front yard then,
it says accessory building, a subordinate building, or portion of the principal building located on the same lot as the principal building or subordinate use of land, either which is customarily incidental to the principal or to the principal use of land. Where part of an accessory building is connected to part of the principal building by common law, such accessory buildings shall not be counted as part of the principal building. That doesn't say anything about the size.
No accessory building shall receive the footprint of the principal building unless an accessory building has been otherwise approved and is styled.
So it sounds like where it's on the same lot, sounds like that's the issue. Because it's bigger than the principal building.
one comment, and this might be something we want to address, is many people have boats and campers and things that they like to park inside, and this may be a continued nuisance for the city, I guess, if people can't construct buildings that they like.
Yeah, and we did recently run into this with another one, here about a month ago, that it was a nice looking building, nice looking shop, but it was just bigger than allowed use for basically the side yard,
Right.
you know. So anyhow, is there any change that you'd like to make to the application before we proceed on, or what would you like to do there? I mean, it's good that you're here because we can have this discussion versus just making a decision and moving with it, but
Yeah,
You
if I
want-
can just build the shop, I'll build the shop and build the house. And if that can be the primary structure,
you're,
I'll do whatever I can do to get going. I'd like to start with the shop.
you're what, now you're losing brownie points with the
You need to call your wife first.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure I don't. Pretty sure she's interested in getting started.
So with that, we probably need to have it presented that way, Todd,
Okay.
so we're not getting, muddy, we need to have it re-presented.
I mean, if we can improve it the way that it is, I'd like to go on.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm stuck no matter what, so I wouldn't mind just taking the vote.
you like to move with the vote then?
Well, I
The
mean,
way that it is?
yes, no matter what, if we're gonna be tabled for another 2 weeks or a month, we might as well just take the vote. I'm in the same.
Well, we would just have to require a new certificate at that point. So you'd have to reapply, pay again, so if that's what you want, we can do that. Versus just taking this back, making your changes to it.
Yeah, I mean, if we can approve it the way that it is, I would just like to take a vote. I think it's a very nice project. I don't-
Well,
I just can't believe I can't build myself a house and a shop on 18 acres. I can't believe it. So, but I'd rather vote and pay $200 more
Sure, sounds good.
than not take a vote and get it. Come back later. I'm gonna come back later regardless.
Okay, sounds good. Any more discussion? At this point, I would just say that given the history and what we've just recently dealt with, and yeah, it's 18 acres, that was an acre. It's still the same in the reality of,
right.
being consistent, and that's what we're trying to do on that. I think that's the one thing that we need to be mindful of. Any further comments on that? Any differences that may not?
Well, I guess one comment, well, it didn't even matter on the vote, but I would like to maybe get an opinion from the city attorney on, I can't find anything in here where, even though it is agriculture, that they don't have to follow the standards already set forth. I'm just wondering if the fact it is agriculture, if they're exempting the standards. You know what I mean? So long as this is truly an agriculture thing. I find it tough to tell someone they can't have an agriculture business in the city of Dillon. I know if I was gonna do something like this, I would be fighting mad if they told me no. Of course. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I mean, if it's truly an agriculture thing, I don't know how we can stop it, but I don't know. And at this point in time, I have to go by what the book says unless I have another, instead of have a legal opinion from our attorney. I can maybe argue something different, but until then, I have to do what the book says, and so if we vote on it tonight, I would have to vote on it,
Okay.
so.
Anything else? Doug, you've been quiet down there.
Just thinking it through.
Okay.
So we'll call for the question.
Question been called for. All those in favor of approving certificate number 2021024, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
Nay.
All right. So we've got Doug as a yay and yes, and Jackie and Raymond as a no. So it fails. Okay. Just a minute. All right. Okay, moving on. Next up would be a fence, certificate number 2021006. Todd, would you like to share more?
You bet. Nathaniel and Emily Freeman, live on 606 South Washington Street. Usually you do not deal with fences. That's something I do, but in this case, Freeman's, and within your packets, a letter that Mr. Freeman wrote. Mr. Freeman is here tonight. They're asking for a 6-foot fence across the front of the property, which is against regulations, it can only be 3 feet. Within the packet, Mr. Freeman wrote a letter explaining why they feel the need for a 6-foot fence.
Would you like to, are you Mr. Freeman?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Would you like to stand up and share your thought?
Sure. This runs along Washington and Dillon, and there's quite a bit of traffic there going to the rail yard, so pretty big trucks and things are there. The way our property sits is it sits to the southeast corner of the property with a shop, so our yard is really that side of Dillon moving into where it meets Washington. So what we'd like to do is build a 6-foot fence that comes back 15 feet at the corner, so there's plenty of visibility for traffic coming. So cutting the corner at 15 feet, and then moving across the front, making a low gate so that people can see into the property if there's any kind of fire hazards, and then continuing on to the next property.
Okay, any questions? It's time for Mr. Freeman. All right, thank you.
It's a nice fence, but again, this is something that the zoning does not give us, we have no ability to change the code. We have to do what the zoning board says. It says 3 feet in the front, 6 feet through the front of the building. As much as this, I mean, this looks like a different and nice improvement. But we have no leeway in our book to change the code.
Okay. I like the guy that's 6'7", 6'8", walking the sidewalk, where you just kind of peek over and see. That's a.
Yeah, that looks like a nice fence. Now, is that going to be a vinyl fence or a?
That would be a cedar fence, sir.
Okay. Any other discussion at this time?
Can I ask a quick clarifying question?
Sure.
So what is possible then is if I run the fence up Dillon till it meets the front of my house at
Correct.
6 feet, and then drop it down to 3 feet around the remaining part.
Correct.
Thank you.
And then in that case, I can approve it without.
Is there any public comment at this time on certificate number 2021006?
Yeah, Edmund, I just noticed on the drawing, they're showing the side vision triangle being 15 feet on either side. It's actually 30 feet is required. And that's shown in the appendix in figure 17, 1200 D1. Also described earlier in the code.
Mr. Freeman measured from inside to sidewalk though, in this particular case. He didn't go to the corner.
That still wouldn't cut it to 15 feet, I don't think.
It
Oh, yeah.
would be 30 at that point.
Yeah, the angle would work.
Yeah.
I measured it from the out from the street back, and that's 30 feet on this.
Yeah, it would work.
Well, if it were me, I would want to see that on the drawing, same as is required, the measurements required. Okay, your arithmetic works.
Any other public comment this time?
I guess I might ask Mr. Freeman if he's contemplating changing the design on his fence, maybe we would table this and give him the opportunity to do so.
Well, it sounds like Mr. Hazelbeck wouldn't have a problem with me running 6 feet and then dropping.
Well, that's what I
it
said,
down.
so if we just table this and you get with Mr. Hazelbaker and
That'd be great.
then he can approve it, and we wouldn't have to deny it. If that's your intention.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay,
Move to table.
all right, got a motion by Raymond, seconded by Jackie. Doug, you're being awful quiet today. All those in favor of tabling certificate number 2021006, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right. The next couple are just more for our knowledge, and that is just that we've got the public hearings for both the Noble Avenue properties as well as the Beaver Pride property scheduled for the 13th. Any changes there? We still on schedule for those?
Yep.
Okay. Sounds good. So we'll drop down to G, update of implementation of House Bill 701.
To remember the date, first part of June, Mr. Dole and I listened into a conference call put on by MMIA and the Montana League of Towns and Cities concerning the new marijuana law, House Bill 701. Both Mr. Dole and I feel that there's still some things coming down the road. One of the big issues is that Beaver County is one of the few counties that did not approve it. So any changes to would have to go through a vote by the citizens.
No,
So
that-
basically, at this point, there isn't anything really we can do until the community, or tell the county decides, the people of the community, the county, decide what direction to go.
Does that have to be a county vote or can it be just a city vote? Did
They do not say, I would assume it'd have to be county.
they say, that's what I thought too. But we can
We
still,
can become the hub of sitting right in the middle of,
but we can still regulate what zones are allowed to sell it, correct? You cannot make it illegal to sell, but can't we still do a zoning saying the only place you can sell is the same place you sell marijuana?
in anticipation of it being passed at some point. You could. But they cannot come in and do anything because they have to get licensed by the state of Montana. The state of Montana does not get licensed any place to do business in our county because it's what we know.
Can they do that?
The state of Montana
I know.
is the one that
But,
gives the license.
the law says you can change it at the vote of the people, not the vote. It had to be voted. And I don't know, I guess my understanding of the law is that it passed, but it's legal in all states to buy, sell, use recreational marijuana with the license. If Beaver County does not want anything in any license in Beaver County, then they have to have a referendum, have an election, and say, no, we do not want it. Until we have an election saying, no, we don't want it, the state law stands. Beaver County cannot opt out of the law just because they didn't vote for it.
Okay.
I'm not a lawyer, but I know that how that works.
Okay.
Because there's been several things that Beaver County voted against, but yet it still happens.
Okay, my understanding is from the discussion was that no, recreational marijuana cannot be sold in Beaverhead County without licensing through the state of Montana.
And so the state ain't gonna follow this law, not issue no licenses.
That's,
Because again, this was a state referendum, even though Beaver County in general voted no, it was not a separate referendum. Beaver County, Jericho County It was not like we was amending the Constitution of the United States. You had to have a certain percentage of the state saying yes. It was a state referendum. It passed, the state referendum passed. I don't know how they can say, and I suspect it will be a lawsuit if they do not answer, if they do not issue a license to Beaver County. I mean, I personally, if I was in the marijuana business, I'd be right down there getting ready to sue. And I bet I would win, because again, it was a state referendum. The referendum said recreational marijuana is legal in Montana.
But we're not accomplishing anything right now, right? So
Well,
we're
I
gonna
guess the point is,
we need to,
we need to get ahead of the ball and say we're not going to allow.
so the city attorney, if you can have him come, let's have him come and let's visit about what the next steps for us might be, whatever that is.
Okay?
If you could have him come and then we can,
He did indicate he was gonna be here tonight, but I don't know what, something must have come up.
sure. Well, that sounds good.
I guess my argument would be, we need to put it on the agenda, we need to pass an ordinance. We don't need the ordinance when it occurs. If it's like I say, they start issuing licenses and someone gets a license to sell medical marijuana in the building right across the street, we have no ordinance, forget it, and we're gonna have a nice medical marijuana place there.
Okay, but again, though, my understanding is that the state of Montana will not issue license, says in Beaver County, because we did not.
Well, that's,
But that's where we,
Well,
that's where our difference is. I have faith in the state of Montana in the process, while you question it, so.
yeah, so
So that's
we're just gonna pause here for a minute. And we're gonna get back here, because it's getting hotter than you know what here, and,
You never turned it on.
yeah, I don't know how to do that. Well, so this next item H really isn't a needed thing at this point, so I'm gonna propose we move on to item I, public comment on items of significant public interest on the agenda in the jurisdiction of the zoning commission. A little hot, it's getting hot in here, so.
I don't know why Doug didn't turn the air conditioner
I know,
on.
he's got the mouth, I'll turn it on.
He's got one job.
Yeah,
This is the last item, right, public comment?
this is, yep.
Quick question for you guys. So if I draw quarters in the shop, like a toilet, the bedroom, can I call the shop my primary residence and the house an accessory dwelling for my guests, or employees, or something like that? Would that happen? So if I drew maybe even a bigger shop, maybe even bigger, and I'll add some bedrooms, and can the house then be considered an accessory to my primary residence, being the house with the big garage house? Is that
Well, this would be public comment time, so it wouldn't be, you know.
These are just
discussion.
questions I'd like
Yeah.
to address the entire group,
Mhm.
because I don't want to apply, come back and reapply, so I'd like to have a pretty good understanding where I am. If I take the shop, put living quarters in the shop space, that's where we're gonna live. Can I approve a smaller house next to the shop? So if my primary residence is gonna be a shop, and we can start that thing today, put some bedrooms in there, that's what I'll do. Can
Well, I
the
definitely,
house
I
still-
definitely think that's something that would need to be looked into. I mean.
Well, it would be accessory, it'd be smaller than the primary, would it not? But, I mean, I'm just saying if there's any, maybe if,
I would read what it says in here about accessory structures and primary structures.
I just wanna make sure we get approved in 2 weeks, that's all.
Sure. Any other public comment at this time?
Yeah, I'm sure this will come up again, it's come up in the past, but I know Raymond has a particular interest in agricultural activities, but I wanted to make a couple of points, not specific to anything that was on the agenda, except the idea of agricultural. Land can be taxed as agricultural, even if it isn't being used for agricultural activities. Beaver Pride, I believe your lots are still being, until they're sold and the use changes, they're still being taxed as agriculture. There hasn't been an agricultural activity on that property for years. You wouldn't be able to move goats and horses onto that property in the city the way it's zoned. So that's one point, is that the tax classification can go both ways. There's a property that you've looked at zoning over by the Y that is currently zoned for tax purposes as residential. And I think they've got a couple of horses over there, it's unzoned. And this whole argument came up as to whether that was agricultural or not, and I think the same points were made, that unless they're generating income from agricultural activities, it is not agriculture as far as the definition for the purposes of zoning and land use within the city. So I could read you, I know I'm up to, I could read you the definitions, but if you want to write down MCA 76-2-9, agricultural activities, might be interesting reading. And then there's a section on agricultural property too in the Department of Revenue that you might want to look at. And then you can look at the definitions in Title 17. And I think they might have come up already in your discussion of the matrix. They're identical to the state of Montana. Yeah.
17-76-110.
Yeah. So you know, I guess I said what I had to say about the agricultural stuff. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your comment. Any other public comment at this time?
So when it's reclassified, it'll be changed by the Department of Revenue.
$1,500 is nothing. I think each cow's worth more than $1,500. The 4 goats my kids sell this year in the fair will be greater than $1,500. So, Mr. Mooney, you truly are a nuisance to society. And this board agreed, so long as we didn't stop until we built commercial property, this board agreed it was going to continue to be used as it is used. That was the only objection we had being zoned. We were on board to be zoned to C2. We will build commercial property on there in the future, but we have never changed the use. We meet all the qualifications. We have water rights, power, and if Mr. Mooney would like to see our taxes, I'm sure he comes in lavish.
Thank you for your comment. And we're not gonna go back and forth.
Yeah, no, one thing, that would be grandfathered, but it still doesn't concern the zoning. The other thing too is that as far as build a shop with a residence above it and then build a house, that residence above the shop, either one would be the accessory dwelling unit. And so accessory dwelling units can only be in an existing structure, and they're limited to a certain percentage of the square footage or above a garage. And again, they're limited to a certain percentage of the structure of the primary residence. So, I mean, there's a way to try to manipulate that and weasel into something, since we're getting a little personal. And it's Dr. Mooney if we're formal, not Mr. Mooney. I think there's a lot to be considered in this as far as what's agriculture. And it's going to come up over and over again, I think, as you try to zone things.
Sure. All right, is there any other comment at this time?
I'll move to adjourn.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of adjourning say aye. Opposed, nay.